Hi everyone, welcome back. So in this video, we're going to be working on our lab 3, and in our lab 3, we're going to be monitoring a virtual machine in Azure. So in this lab, we're going to learn how to track CPU utilization using Azure Monitor. We're going to learn how to create an alert rule in Azure and also configure an action group to send email notifications whenever the VM crosses a threshold. For those of us very familiar with AWS CloudWatch, alarms, and SNS topics, this is the Azure equivalent. So as usual, we'll go through our architecture diagram to get a good understanding of what we're going to be working on today. Of course, we have our Azure virtual machine right here, and then we have the Azure Monitor. Basically, the Azure Monitor is collecting metrics, and in our use case today, we'll be collecting the percentage CPU metric. Okay, and then we are going to attach the alert rule. So basically, the alert rule fires up if the CPU exceeds 75% usage. And then we have this alert rule here, which will basically trigger what we call the action group. It's going to trigger the action group, and the action group is going to be configured to send an email notification to maybe the admin or maybe the engineers. So I'm just going to give a very brief real world scenario. So for example, let's say we are running a startup that hosts the web API on a single virtual machine. Okay, so if we're getting traffic on our system, and let's say with the CPU usage, there could be like a max out, like the more the traffic, right? And what might happen eventually is that if it's being maxed out, there might be a service shutdown, and we don't want that. So what we could do is that with the Azure Monitor, we can set up the alert rule. And when we set up the alert rule, we can set it up in such a way that emails could be sent to the DevOps engineer immediately when the CPU is too high. Or for example, maybe we could run a script to scale out the virtual machine if the CPU is too high. So in that case, we basically ensure that we stay ahead of issues before users actually notice a downtime. So that's an example of a situation that could happen in real world. Okay, so so right now we'll just dive straight into the lab and we can just follow through. All right, so that's it. So what we've been able to do is we basically built a monitoring pipeline in Azure. So what happened was that our Azure Monitor basically is checking, like I said, the CPU usage, and when it's above 75% of usage, it's going to trigger, the action group to send an email notification. So as we have here, we can see, of course, this is the test, so we can't count this, but this is the notification VM CPU high alert that we set. So this is the alert rule that triggers basically. So this is it, and every 1 minute it checks and it's going to trigger and send notification to this email. For some reason my other email wasn't working, so I quickly needed to create a temporary email to test this, right? So this is it. So of course, as you've seen, we've created a virtual machine. We've monitored CPU percentage with Azure Monitor. We've been able to set up an alert rule, as you have seen, and we've delivered notifications through an action group. Of course, when you're done with the lab, do not forget to delete your resources. So we can go to our resource group, and then we come to our lab resource group, and we could delete resource group, copy. So yes, and our resources are deleting. So basically, if you found this lab very helpful, please do not forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment if you have any questions. The GitHub repo with all the lab files and diagram is linked in the description. See you in the next lab. Thank you.